Oh, what's this? Double barrel? Infinite ammo? Oh my lord. The recent resurgence in retro FPSs, now dubbed boomer shooters, has had me engaged in the community in a way that I never think I really have been prior. Seeing all of these wonderfully creative ideas that try something new while also embracing the past with such incredible quality is nothing really to scoff at. So once I heard about a rhythm-based FPS dungeon crawler, akin to Crypt of the Necrodancer but as a first-person shooter, I was pretty excited. I thought the project turned out to be Metal Hellsinger, another rhythm FPS that I've had my eyes on, until the project I originally was following was practically shadow dropped on me, BPM bullets per minute. And it was love at first sight, and after nearly 35 hours put into the game, I finished it on both difficulties with all 5 of its available characters. The structure is pretty simple. Oh dear. Alright, I'm not the biggest fan of roguelikes as a whole. There's some really good ones out there, but I'm not exactly running around looking for new roguelikes to play. I'd rather the substance be what draws me in before the promise of a grind and near-endless playtime. Thankfully though, BPM delivers. It follows a grid-based room-to-room structure with new weapons, spells, stat upgrades, and game-changing equipment, with little influencing future runs aside from skill, and a bank allowing you to store up to 10 coins to be withdrawn in future runs. It's fine, it's not too grindy. Gameplay is fairly similar between the 5 available characters, each with their own modifiers, though some more drastic than others, leading to a unique experience per character, give or take a couple. More on that in a bit. And on top of that, easy and hard difficulties can also add a bit of spice to your runs, each with their own unlockables per character, meaning to unlock everything, you need to do a minimum of 10 runs, 2 per character, each on easy and hard mode. Unless beating runs on hard mode also snags the unlockables you get on easy, I don't know, that's just not how I roll because hard mode kicked my ass. Though now it just feels natural, definitely my preferred difficulty to play on. But during that learning phase where I was still adjusting to how the game runs and feels, I preferred the breathing room easy mode provided. And yes, it is just an easy mode, no normal, easy is normal, whatever. Each run can take between 20 to 40 minutes depending on your luck. I also felt that the pacing of introducing new enemies was handled a bit better in easy mode. Take these shield guys for example, at close range you need to dash out of the way of their attacks 4 times and then loop around to take out their backside. On easy, these guys only appear in the second half of the game, but on hard, they have a chance of showing up as early as the opening level. Just in my personal opinion, hard mode feels more like a remix difficulty with how it handles enemies, so I really only recommend playing it once you get the hang of the game's pacing. There's 10 levels by the way, or I guess 5 and they're just split into halves, sort of like an Act 1, Act 2 sort of deal. I don't know if that's how they intended it, but each level has its own soundtrack, and by god, they are all fantastic. Which I suppose shouldn't be a surprise, a soundtrack should be good for not only a rhythm game but a boomer shooter no less, but god damn, it does not disappoint. The only track that I felt was lacking was Stage 4's track Corruption, and it's not even because it's bad. It's because there's this recurring drum beat that hits on the quarter notes, so it makes my brain think that I missed a note every time I fire on the full beat. The track is still fantastic. Progression is pretty standard, rooms rearrange for the dungeon on repeat playthroughs, enemies drop keys and currency that can be spent on stat buffs, items that take up one of the 4 item slots that can change how you approach each arena, or spent at the armory for a chance for a new gun at 5, 15 to 30 coins respectively, with different classes of weapons having their own reload and firing patterns. Lighter weapons like the handguns and SMGs can fire on the half beat, where heavier weapons like the rocket launcher, chain gun, and the goddamn Gauss cannon can only fire on the full beats. Keep in mind, you can only carry 1 weapon at a time, something that feels like heresy for something calling itself a boomer shooter. But it feels like the game is at least balanced for this, especially with an unlimited ammo pool that only requires reloading. As long as you're playing to the beat, ammunition shouldn't be a problem. Which, might I add, BPM has some of the most satisfying reloading in a video game ever. But again, I feel like it's because of how the game balances it. If you told someone playing Half-Life that you had to tap the reload button to reload every magnum round or every shotgun shell, or to eject the mag, insert a new one, and then cock it, they'd tell you that you're insane and that you should get out of their house. But here, in a rhythm-based game where you and the rest of the world move and exist to the same beats, it's addictive. Everything in the world follows the rules of the beat. Enemies attack on the beats, bosses only act on the beat, and you can only carry out one action per half beat. Whether that's dashing, reloading, shooting, the only action that you can pair with others during the same beats is jumping, with jumping being the only action that isn't bound to the beat. Which again, in any other FPS, this would be terrible, but here, it just works really well. I admit, it is a bit difficult to rate this game like I normally would with other games, as its randomly generated dungeons assure that everyone will have a unique experience in one way or another. Where one run will have you cruising through on hard mode with some of the best gear in the game, another one will have you barely scraping by on easy mode just because you've had terrible luck with your loot drops. Difficulty is often reliant on RNG above anything else, and while enemies do have a pattern to them, it's not exactly easy if your stats aren't up to snuff. The closest we'll all have to a shared experience will likely come in the form of the playable characters, which I suppose we should get into. I'm going to be focusing on the starter character Gull for the most part, as the other characters don't really change up too much, so we're going to consider her the foundation. She's also the poster girl for the game, who's on everything in terms of the game's promotional material. I'm guessing she's supposed to be mad in this render, but the lack of creases in her brow and around the mouth makes it look like she's just mildly annoyed. Like, that's the face of, did you really just say Doom Eternal on easy is harder than Bloodborne? The artwork on the soundtrack seems to convey what the render couldn't, so I guess that's a plus. She has no special stats, no modifiers, just 100 health and a dinky pistol. Be sure to pick up a new weapon as soon as you can because of this thing's terrible range. Yes, hit scan weapons do have limited range, but can be upgraded at these shrines. Range increases range, obviously. Precision increases the likelihood of hitting a target once they enter your crosshair. Strength upgrades, duh. Luck increases your odds at better loot drops. Speed, duh. And abilities need to be unlocked in the libraries, with the chance of giving you either a powerful ultimate move or a simple castable spell like a fireball or a spread of fireballs or negating your first enemy attack, teleporting. It's simple stuff. Abilities like these can be unlocked for the characters upon beating their runs on easy and for their ultimates on hard. Gull here unlocks a castable fireball that deals burning damage and an explosive orb for her ultimate. They're both pretty good, but again, you don't get them until you finished both of her runs. Welcome to the first boss. I hope you're ready to learn the Draugr dance. If I'm being honest, I think that this is the best boss in the game, and it's a shame that he's only put here at the very beginning. From this point on, nearly every boss in the game can be beaten by circle strafing. Or if you're just so fucking overpowered, you can do this. Did you see that? That is a hit scan sticky rocket launcher that is so fucking powerful. Draugr at least keeps you on your toes by making literally half of the arena deal damage to you if you don't do what I'm willing to call the Draugr dance. You don't technically have to dash, but fuck, it just feels so good to go along with the beat. It's very satisfying. Especially when you hear the alert go off that he's about to use his ground AoE and then you time your jump with it. Oh, it just feels so good. But from this point on, maybe only one of the bosses has this level of engagement. Second boss, circle strafe. Third boss, stand on the circle on the floor and then circle strafe. Gullveig. Fuck Gullveig. Jump over her spinning walls and then circle strafe again. And every boss after these three, you can literally just circle strafe until they eventually die. No matter how long it takes, give or take a couple of boulders hitting your face. It's a bit of a shame because this game clearly has a lot of potential for an engaging rhythm-based boss fight, and it just never goes far enough in my opinion. But even with the additions of double damage, infinite ammo, penetrating shots, auto-aim, and especially boots that randomly damage enemies in the room simply for following the beat even if you're not aiming at them, I wonder if more engaging bosses simply would have been lost to how powerful your character can be. Bosses do become regular enemies by the time you make it to the final zone of the game, Helheim, whose loading times are fucking insane, even with the game loaded onto an SSD. It's definitely one of the more unique levels in the game, given that I actually have things to talk about with it, but I guess I already spoiled it with the bosses becoming recurring enemies. Oops. But don't take that as a hit against the game. It's still crazy addicting. It's just that the grid-based layout of the rooms don't really allow for many unique set pieces. The visuals are pretty, but literally monochrome in some places. Helheim, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but that area changes things up a bit given that there's like lava on the floor. That can be cool. Rooms do have secret chests locked away for better loot, often hidden in hard to reach areas that may require a bit of platforming, or even rarely just out of your reach because you need to fly up there to get them, which you can only fly if you have the specific boot gear that will let you. Or the final character you unlock, I'll talk about him in a bit. But that's really the name of the game. Scour for upgrades and weapons and pray that you can overcome the challenges that are thrown at you, ending with Helheim Act 2, holding a sort of boss rush before the big bad. Nope, I'm not saying that out loud. There's also this big ol' pot of cash before the final boss room. I believe it's to let you store your boot items here for future runs. I don't know, I never really used it. The fight against the demonetized dragon was also a bit underwhelming. It's at least a two-phase boss fight, with the first phase with him up in the air and the second phase with him grounded. He can spawn these bubbles that only let you safely pass through them when they pause every full beat, and that's cool, that's engaging. And also these shields that you have to run around. But beyond that, it's a pretty basic and kind of easy fight. But the end of it, oh man. So whenever you beat a boss, the restrictions of the rhythm are temporarily taken off, where you can hit a boss up to 5 times, 6 in one instance, to finish them off in any, pardon the pun, BPM you desire. The official soundtrack suggests that you should fire every full beat, but for the final boss, you've got twice as many notes to hit. The closest I got to this with any of my recorded runs was with Hildur on hard. Hildur, these names, I had this weird infinite ammo rocket launcher thing, so yeah. You could also just go balls to the wall with the chain gun. The chain gun is fucking broken, by the way. It's the only weapon in the game, to my knowledge, that you can just hold down mouse 1, completely letting you bypass the rhythm requirements. I don't know. It's fun. Very satisfying, but I feel like it kind of breaks the game. Alright, on to character 2. Fuck. This is the character that I first completed the game with. He starts with a revolver, which has much better range and damage output than the pistol, but the only drawback is that you can only reload 1 round per half beat. So you need to manage your ammo a little bit better than you would with anyone else. But here's the catch. His entire health pool is just 50 armor. Armor can only be replenished by more armor pickups, and can only be found at these gambling shrines or in shops. So you need to be extra careful regarding your health. However, you can still upgrade your health through these HP increases, and in the rare cases when you find one, these items that convert all current armor into health points. If you ever find that thing, then good game, you won. Her is about as interesting. She starts with a 4-shot handgun with slightly higher DPS than the starter pistol, has almost half of her speed stats filled up, and even begins her run with a spare key. I'd personally like to save my keys until I can find a library that drops spells or ultimates, and if there's no libraries to check on, then I go for the chests. Until you find the skeleton key, which is literally just infinite keys that you can keep for the entire run. Seriously, this thing is fucking busted. I even found a chain gun early in my easy run with her, which I kept for the entire run, which combined with the ultimate that I found of being able to spawn money out of the air, this was possibly the easiest run that I had. Is probably the most unique character that starts with 7 coins and these magical hands that can never be reloaded because, well, they're hands. And because they're projectile based, you never have to worry about being out of range. The catch is that he can't use weapons, rendering the armory almost completely useless aside for the damage upgrade for 5 coins. Your success here relies solely on your stats rather than your weapons. And then there's Odor. Fuck you. The game's font made me think that his name was Door, which made me label all of his runs as Door, so fuck it, he's Door to me now. Door is my personal ultra nightmare. He starts with a double barrel, he can fly, and he can hover by holding the jump key. He is a ton of fun to play and has completely unrestricted access to secrets. But here's the catch, he can only take a single hit and it's game over. Health and armor pickups give you literally nothing. If you get hit, that's it. Door forced me to think through strategically what build build I wanted and needed for my runs, where relying on health upgrades and armor was a complete waste of coins, purely focusing on my weapons, stats, and spells. And it was a lot of fun. It took me almost a week of constant playing to beat my run with Odor on easy, Door, and then another week to beat it on hard. Door gives a unique experience where no matter how godly your gear is, no matter how OP your weapon is, it can be taken away from you in the blink of an eye. So fuck it, build your most OP build that you can, and fucking book it. I managed to get that weird hit scan sticky bomb weapon alongside the infinite ammo perk, which just... Please buy this game. It's clear that the team put a lot of work into it, and it's only $20. It's currently only on PC with consoles coming in the near future, but tell me, what other game can I rhythmically fire a chain gun like this? Oh my god.